shout, but she had a way of saying things that had the same effect on the listener as if she were bawling. She now ran on tiptoe to the end of the kitchen and gently eased the bottom window upwards for about 6 inches or so. That was another thing that wouldn't have been allowed if Mrs McGilby had been on her feet. The windows were never opened because of the dust. She paused again as she made her way to the stairs, her eyes slanted towards the sitting-room door, while wondering yet again where he hid his baccy. She hadn't found a place in the room that he could use as a hidey-hole, and he wouldn't have dared carry it about on him because Mrs McGilby had a nose like a ferret. She went quietly up the steep, dark stairs now to the small landing, which had a door on each side. The right-hand door led into Mr and Mrs McGilby's bedroom, the left one into her own room. Once inside her room, she squeezed past the iron bedstead and towards the chest of drawers that was wedged between the foot of the bed and the windowsill. Opening the top drawer, she took out a clean blue print frock. Divesting herself of her bibless holland apron, striped blouse and serge skirt, she got into the dress. Then she changed her house slippers for a pair of boots, their ugliness being almost hidden by the hem of the dress. From the second drawer she took out a straw hat and 2 long hat pins, and when she had secured them in the hat it sat dead straight across the top of her head. She now lifted her coat off a nail on the back of the door and put it on. Lastly, she took out a clean handkerchief from a box on the top of the chest of drawers, together with a brown, worn leather purse. This she opened, looked at her week's wages of 1 and 6pence, which again aroused in her the thought of how lucky she was. Then, snapping the purse closed, and holding it and the clean handkerchief in her hand, she went out of the room, took the 3 steps across the landing, tapped on the bedroom door before entering, and saying with a smile, "I'm ready for off, Mrs McGilby. Is there anything you want doing afore I go?" Nancy McGilby was propped up in bed. She had been propped up in bed for 2 years now, and she took it calmly because it was God's will. God had seen fit to give her a complaint. Why, she didn't question, but believed firmly that the answer would be given to her when she entered the other life. In the mansion he had prepared for her, all knowledge would be hers, and the rewards for her suffering and patience would be bountiful. In answer to Emily's inquiry, Mrs McGilby said, "Let me see if you're tidy." And on this, Emily walked towards the window and stood, her arms extended from her sides, before turning slowly about. It was when Mrs McGilby viewed her back that she said, with a note in her voice that spoke of patience tried to the edge of endurance, "That hair! You'd imagine I'd never spoken to you about it. I've told you to wet it to keep it down, haven't I?" "Yes, Mrs McGilby, but it dries." "Well, there's only one thing for it. If you can't keep it under control, you'll have to have it cut off." Each feature on Emily's face seemed to stretch. The gladness was wiped from it. She gabbled now. No, Mrs McGilby, don't say that. I'll see to it, I will. And I'll snip off the frizzy bits that stick out. I will." Mrs McGilby sighed deeply, lifted the frill of her calico nightdress further up under her chin, then smoothed the sheet that covered the edge of the quilt with her 2 transparent-looking hands, before saying, "Get along now, but be back, mind, in time for the prayer meeting. I don't want you running up the stairs at the last minute like last Sunday. You understand?" "Yes, Mrs McGilby. I'll be here on time. Goodbye, Mrs McGilby." She almost retreated backwards out of the room. On the landing, she paused for a moment and pressed her hand across her mouth, and it was still there when she closed the staircase door and entered the kitchen, where Sep McGilby, turning from raking some coal from the back of the grate onto the open fire, paused with the rake in his hand, and, straightening his back, said, "What is it? What's up?" Nothing, Mr McGilby." Come on. He laid the rake down against the edge of the brass-railed high steel fender, then came towards her, saying under his breath, "The missus? What she been saying to you?" Nothing. "Tell me." It's about me hair. She said if I don't keep it down flat, I'll have to have it cut off, and I can't keep it flat." "She said what?" He